My name is Jessica, and I'm 28 years old. I used to believe that family meant unconditional love and support. I thought my mother would always want the best for me, that my sister would stand by my side through everything. I was wrong. 3 years ago, I was engaged to the man I loved, planning a future filled with hope and happiness. But then my mother did something I never imagined possible. She convinced my boyfriend to marry my sister instead. She told him my sister was stronger, better, more capable of being a good wife. I was heartbroken, devastated, shattered into pieces I didn't think I could ever put back together. Before we dive into this story, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments below. And if you've ever felt betrayed by someone you trusted, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Because what happened next changed everything, and you won't believe how this story ends. Let me take you back to when everything still felt right. 3 years before my world fell apart, I met Ryan at a small coffee shop in Portland. It was a rainy Tuesday morning, and I had rushed in to escape the downpour, my hair dripping wet, my coat soaked through. He was sitting by the window sketching something in a notebook, and when I accidentally bumped his table while trying to find a seat, he looked up and smiled. Not an annoyed smile, but a genuine warm smile that made me forget I was standing there like a drowned rat. Ryan was an architect 30 years old with kind eyes and a calm demeanor that immediately put me at ease. We started talking that morning, and somehow 3 hours passed without either of us noticing. He told me about his work designing office buildings and residential complexes, about his dream to create sustainable, beautiful spaces that made people feel at home. I told him about my job as an accountant at a mid-sized firm, about my love for numbers, and the satisfaction I got from balancing books and finding solutions to financial puzzles. Our first official date was the following weekend. Ryan took me to an art gallery downtown where local artists displayed their paintings and sculptures. He explained the architectural elements in each piece, pointing out lines and structures I never would have noticed on my own. Afterward, we walked along the Willamette River as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. He held my hand, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years: safety, belonging, hope. Over the next 3 years, Ryan became my best friend and my partner. Every Sunday morning, he would wake up early to make breakfast: pancakes with fresh blueberries, scrambled eggs with cheese, crispy bacon, and strong coffee. We would sit at the small table in my apartment, talking about our week, making plans for the future, laughing at silly jokes that only we found funny. On weekends, we would drive out to the mountains, hiking trails that wound through tall pine trees and opened up to breathtaking views of valleys below. Ryan would stop every few minutes to take photos, capturing moments he said he wanted to remember forever. Last spring, on a bright April morning, Ryan proposed. We had gone back to that same coffee shop where we first met, and as we sat at the same table by the window, he pulled out a small velvet box. The ring was simple but beautiful, a small diamond set in platinum, elegant and understated, just like our relationship. He said, "Jessica, you make every day better. You make me want to be a better person. Will you marry me?" I said yes before he even finished the sentence. I couldn't imagine my life without him. But there was always something lurking in the background, something I tried to ignore but couldn't quite shake. My family. Specifically my mother and my sister. My mother, Margaret, was 55 years old, a widow since I was 12. My father had died in a car accident, leaving her to raise 2 daughters alone. I always understood that it was hard for her, that she carried a burden I couldn't fully comprehend. But what I never understood was why she seemed to favor my sister Amanda in every possible way. Amanda was 3 years older than me, 31 now. Growing up, she got everything. When we were kids, she attended a private school with small class sizes and excellent teachers, while I went to the public school down the street with overcrowded classrooms and outdated textbooks. My mother said it was because Amanda was smarter, more gifted, and needed the better education. When we became teenagers, Amanda received new clothes from expensive stores, designer jeans and trendy tops, while I wore hand-me-downs or clearance items from discount retailers. My mother said Amanda needed to look good because she was prettier, more likely to attract the right kind of attention. I tried not to let it bother me. I told myself that Mom was doing her best, that maybe she really did believe Amanda needed more help, more investment, more attention. I convinced myself that love didn't have to be equal to be real. But deep down, it hurt. It hurt every time Mom praised Amanda's achievements while barely acknowledging mine. It hurt when Amanda would show off her new purchases while I counted pennies to buy school supplies. It hurt when I realized that no matter what I did, I would never be good enough in my mother's eyes. Amanda herself was complicated. She could be charming and funny when she wanted to be, but she also had a competitive streak that made everything feel like a contest. If I got a good grade, she had to get a better one. If I made a new friend, she had to become closer to that friend. If I showed interest in something, she had to prove she was better at it. I loved her because she was my sister, but I also kept my distance because being around her felt exhausting. When I decided to introduce Ryan to my family, I spent days preparing. I wanted everything to be perfect. I cleaned my mother's house, cooked her favorite dishes, roasted chicken with herbs and garlic mashed potatoes with butter and cream green beans sautéed with almonds. I bought fresh flowers, white roses, and lilies and arranged them in a vase on the dining table. I wanted my mother to see how happy I was, how much Ryan meant to me, and to be happy for me in return. The evening started well enough. My mother wore a black dress, simple and elegant, her hair neatly combed back. Amanda wore a tight red dress that hugged her curves, her makeup more dramatic than usual, bright red lipstick and dark eyeliner. Ryan arrived with a bottle of wine and a box of chocolates, smiling nervously as I introduced him. We sat in the living room making small talk while I finished setting the table. During dinner, Ryan talked about his work. He described the new office building he was designing in downtown Portland, a 12-story structure with floor-to-ceiling windows and sustainable energy systems. He spoke passionately about creating spaces that inspired people, that made them feel connected to their environment. My mother listened politely, nodding occasionally, but saying little. Amanda, on the other hand, asked question after question. How much did architects make? Did he own his own firm or work for someone else? What kind of future did he see for himself? Did he want children? How many? Where did he want to live? I found her questions intrusive, too personal for a first meeting, but Ryan answered patiently, holding my hand under the table as if to reassure me. He talked about our plans to get married next fall, to have a small ceremony by the coast, to eventually buy a house with a big backyard where we could raise a family. He smiled at me as he spoke, his eyes full of love and certainty. My mother remained quiet, her expression unreadable. Amanda smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. When Ryan mentioned wanting 3 or 4 children, I saw something flicker across Amanda's face. Jealousy, calculation, I couldn't tell. But it made me uncomfortable. After dinner, Ryan and I drove back to my apartment. He held my hand across the console, humming along to the radio. I asked him what he thought of my family. He said they seemed nice. A little quiet, maybe, but nice. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that everything was fine, that my mother and sister were happy for me. But a small voice in the back of my mind whispered that something was wrong. That night, lying in bed next to Ryan, I tried to push the worry away. I focused on the good things: our upcoming wedding, the honeymoon we were planning in Hawaii, the life we would build together. I fell asleep listening to his steady breathing, feeling safe and loved. I had no idea that my mother was already planning to take it all away. 1 week after that dinner, my mother called Ryan. She didn't tell me about it until later. She asked him to come to her house alone, saying she needed to discuss some family planning matters. Ryan, being polite and wanting to make a good impression, agreed. He went on a Thursday afternoon thinking it would be a quick conversation about wedding logistics, or perhaps about helping my mother with some household repairs. When Ryan came back, he seemed different, quieter, more distant. I asked him what my mother had wanted to talk about. He hesitated, then told me she had asked a lot of questions about his finances. How stable was his job? Did he have savings? Could he support a family on his income alone? Ryan said he found the questions odd, but answered honestly. He told her he had a good salary that he had been saving for years, that he was confident he could provide for me and our future children. Then my mother had said something that made Ryan uncomfortable. She told him that I had always been the weaker one, the one who needed more help. She said I had been sickly as a child, that I still struggled with my health, though she didn't specify how. She said I wasn't very good at cooking or housekeeping, that I would need a lot of patience and support. She said she worried whether I was truly ready for marriage and all its responsibilities. Ryan told me all this while we sat on my couch, his hand holding mine. He said he had defended me, told my mother that I was independent and capable, that I managed my own apartment and my own life just fine. But he also admitted that my mother's words had planted a seed of doubt. Not about his love for me, he was quick to clarify, but about whether my family approved of our relationship. I was hurt and confused. Why would my mother say those things? I wasn't sickly. I had been healthy my entire adult life. I could cook perfectly well. I kept my apartment clean and organized. None of what she said was true. I told Ryan this and he believed me, but I could see that my mother's words had affected him. The confidence he usually carried had been shaken, replaced by a wariness I had never seen before. Things got stranger after that. Amanda started showing up everywhere Ryan and I went. At first, I thought it was coincidence. Portland is a big city, but certain places are popular, and it wasn't impossible to run into someone you know. But it happened too many times to be random. The first time was at the movie theater. Ryan and I had bought tickets to see a new thriller that had just been released. We were standing in line for popcorn when Amanda appeared behind us, smiling brightly. She said she had been planning to see the same movie, and what a funny coincidence that we were all there at the same time. She asked if she could sit with us. I wanted to say no, but I didn't want to seem rude or petty, so I agreed. Throughout the movie, Amanda kept leaning over to whisper comments to Ryan, asking his opinion on the plot twists, laughing at his responses. I sat on his other side, feeling invisible. The second time was at our favorite Italian restaurant. Ryan had made reservations for our anniversary 3 years since that rainy Tuesday in the coffee shop. We arrived dressed nicely, ready for a romantic evening. As we were being seated, Amanda walked in, claiming she was there for a company dinner. But she was alone, and when the hostess tried to seat her across the restaurant, Amanda asked if she could join us instead, saying it felt silly to eat alone when her sister was right there. Again, I couldn't find a polite way to refuse without causing a scene. Amanda ordered wine, clinked glasses with Ryan, complimented his tie, asked detailed questions about his latest architectural project. I pushed food around my plate, my appetite gone. The third time was at Ryan's gym. I had never seen Amanda exercise a day in her life, but suddenly she had a membership at the same gym Ryan attended every morning. She wore expensive workout clothes, tight leggings, and a sports bra that showed off her figure. She positioned herself near Ryan's usual machines, asking him for advice on her form, complimenting his strength. Ryan was polite, but clearly uncomfortable. When he told me about it later, he said he didn't know what to do. He didn't want to be rude to my sister, but her constant presence was starting to feel intrusive. I confronted Amanda one evening when I stopped by my mother's house. I found her in the kitchen chopping vegetables for dinner. I asked her directly why she kept showing up everywhere Ryan and I went. She looked at me with wide, innocent eyes and said she had no idea what I was talking about. She said Portland was full of coincidences, that we simply had similar tastes. She said I was being paranoid and jealous, that I should be happy she was trying to get to know my future husband better. Her tone was sweet, but her eyes were cold. I tried talking to my mother about it, hoping she would see how inappropriate Amanda's behavior was. We sat in her living room, teacups between us, and I explained everything. The movie theater, the restaurant, the gym. I told her I felt like Amanda was trying to come between Ryan and me. My mother listened without expression, then set down her teacup and looked at me with something like pity. She said, "Jessica, honey, are you sure Ryan is the right person for you?" I stared at her, shocked. "What do you mean?" "I mean you're not very strong, dear. You've never been. You're not good at taking care of others. You struggle with the simplest tasks. A man like Ryan needs someone who can keep up with him, someone who can handle the demands of being a wife." Her words felt like a slap. "Mom, I'm perfectly capable of—" She cut me off. "Amanda is stronger than you. She's always been the capable one. She knows how to cook properly, how to manage a household, how to take care of a man's needs. She's prettier, more confident. If Ryan were smart, he would see that Amanda is the better choice." I couldn't breathe. My own mother was suggesting that my fiancé should be with my sister instead of me. She was saying that I wasn't good enough, that I would never be good enough. Tears filled my eyes, but I refused to let them fall in front of her. I stood up, grabbed my purse, and walked out without another word. That night, I told Ryan everything my mother had said. He held me while I cried, stroking my hair, telling me that my mother was wrong, that I was strong and capable and perfect exactly as I was. He said he loved me and only me, that nothing my mother or Amanda did would change that. I wanted to believe him. I tried so hard to believe him, but the attacks didn't stop. They escalated. 1 month later, my mother invited our whole family to Sunday dinner. She specifically asked that Ryan come, saying she wanted to make up for any misunderstandings. I was hesitant, but Ryan convinced me to give it another chance. He said family was important, that we should try to build bridges rather than burn them. I agreed, though every instinct told me it was a mistake. The dinner was elaborate. Amanda had cooked everything, dish after dish of Ryan's favorite foods. She had somehow found out what he liked and prepared it all. Beef Wellington with a perfectly golden crust, Caesar salad with homemade dressing, creamy mashed potatoes with roasted garlic, and tiramisu for dessert. The table looked like something from a restaurant, candles flickering, wine glasses gleaming. My mother praised Amanda throughout the meal. "Look at this Ryan. Amanda made all of this herself. She's such a talented cook. Any man would be lucky to come home to meals like this every night." Amanda blushed and smiled, touching Ryan's arm as she served him another slice of beef. I had brought a homemade apple pie, something I had spent hours on, but my mother barely glanced at it. "Oh, how sweet, Jessica. You tried. We'll have it later, maybe." After dinner, I went to the kitchen to wash dishes. Through the doorway, I could hear my mother talking to Ryan in the living room. Her voice was low but clear. "Ryan, you seem like a smart man. Can't you see what's right in front of you?" "I'm sorry, Mrs. Patterson, I don't understand what you mean." Ryan replied, his tone polite but strained. "I mean Amanda. Look at how perfect she is. She's beautiful, talented, strong. She can give you the life you deserve." "Jessica." "Well, Jessica is sweet, but she's not cut out for marriage. She's always been fragile, always needed help. She can barely take care of herself, let alone a husband." I stood frozen by the sink soap bubbles dripping from my hands. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own mother was actively trying to convince my fiancé to leave me for my sister. Ryan's voice was firm. "Mrs. Patterson, I love Jessica. She's the woman I want to marry. I don't appreciate these conversations." My mother sighed a long, suffering sound. "You're making a mistake, Ryan. Jessica will only drag you down. Amanda is the one who can lift you up. She's stronger, smarter, better in every way that matters." "I think I should go," Ryan said. I heard him stand up. I quickly dried my hands and came out of the kitchen. Ryan's face was red, his jaw tight. He took my hand and we left without saying goodbye. In the car, Ryan was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, "Your mother is relentless. I don't know what she's trying to accomplish, but it's not going to work. I love you, Jessica. I chose you, and I'm going to keep choosing you." I wanted to feel reassured, but I felt sick instead. My mother was actively sabotaging my relationship, and I didn't know how to stop her. Over the next 2 weeks, Amanda's text messages to Ryan became more frequent and more bold. Ryan showed me his phone, wanting to be transparent. The messages started innocently enough, thanking him for coming to dinner, hoping he enjoyed the food. Then they became more personal. "Ryan, I've been thinking about our conversation. I really feel like we connected." Another message. "I know you're with Jessica, but have you ever thought about what it would be like with someone else? Someone who could really understand you?" I watched Ryan scroll through the messages, his expression growing darker. There were dozens of them sent at all hours of the day and night. Amanda had started sending photos of food she cooked. "I made lasagna tonight. Wish you were here to try it." She sent pictures of herself in nice outfits. "Heading to a work event. Do I look okay?" The subtext was clear. She was advertising herself as an alternative to me. Ryan tried to respond politely at first, saying things like, "Thanks, looks good," or "I'm sure you look fine." But when Amanda sent a message saying, "I know I could make you happier than Jessica ever could," Ryan finally blocked her number. He showed me the blocked contact screen as if to prove his loyalty, but I could see the stress in his eyes. This was taking a toll on him too. Then came the message that changed everything. It was from my mother, sent to Ryan's work email. He showed it to me that evening, his hands shaking slightly as he held his phone. The email was long typed in a formal tone, as if it were a business proposal. My mother laid out all the reasons why Ryan should break up with me and marry Amanda instead. She listed my supposed flaws: weak constitution, poor domestic skills, emotional instability. She listed Amanda's supposed strengths: robust health, excellent cooking, emotional maturity. She ended the email with, "I'm telling you this as someone who cares about your future happiness. Jessica will only bring you down. Amanda will build you up. Make the right choice, Ryan." I read the email 3 times, each reading making me feel more nauseous. My mother had reduced me to a list of deficiencies, had quantified my worth, and found it lacking compared to my sister. She had taken the time to write this out to craft arguments for why I was unworthy of love. The betrayal was so deep, so complete, that I couldn't even cry. I just sat there numb, staring at the screen. Ryan deleted the email and pulled me into his arms. "This is insane," he whispered. "Your mother is out of control. I don't know what she's trying to do, but it won't work. I love you. Only you." But I could feel something shifting. The constant pressure from my mother and Amanda was wearing both of us down. Every time we tried to plan our wedding, there was some new interruption. My mother called with emergencies that turned out to be nothing. Amanda showed up at wedding venues we were touring, offering her opinions without being invited. It felt like they were everywhere, suffocating us, slowly squeezing the joy out of our relationship. One evening, Ryan came home from work looking exhausted. He sat down heavily on the couch and rubbed his face with his hands. "Your mother called my boss today," he said quietly. My heart sank. "What?" She called him. Told him I was in an unstable relationship, that it was affecting my work performance. She said she was concerned about me and wanted to make sure I was okay. My boss pulled me into his office and asked what was going on. I had to explain that my fiancé's mother was harassing me. It was humiliating Jessica. I felt like the floor was falling out from under me. My mother had escalated from private manipulation to public sabotage. She was now actively trying to damage Ryan's career, all in service of her twisted plan to push him toward Amanda. "I'm so sorry," I whispered, tears finally starting to fall. "I don't know why she's doing this. I don't understand." Ryan pulled me close. "It's not your fault. None of this is your fault. But Jessica, I have to be honest with you. I don't know how much more of this I can take. It's not that I don't love you. I do. But this situation, it's destroying me. I can't sleep. I can't focus at work. Every time my phone rings, I'm afraid it's your mother or your sister with some new manipulation." His words terrified me. I could hear what he wasn't saying. He was reaching his breaking point, and my mother knew it. She was counting on it. 3 months before our planned wedding, Ryan asked me to meet him at the park where we used to walk. It was a beautiful autumn day, leaves turning gold and red, falling gently to the ground. But I felt cold as I walked toward the bench where he sat waiting. His posture was slumped, his face drawn. I knew before he even spoke that something terrible was about to happen. I sat down next to him, and for a long moment neither of us said anything. Finally, Ryan turned to me, and I saw tears in his eyes. "Jessica, I need to tell you something. Your mother came to see me yesterday." My stomach dropped. "What did she do now?" Ryan took a shaky breath. "She brought medical documents, hospital records. She said they were yours. She said you have a congenital heart condition, that you've been hiding it from me, that you can't have children because pregnancy would kill you." I gasped. "That's not true. Ryan, none of that is true. I don't have a heart condition. I've never had any serious health problems. She's lying." "I know," Ryan said quickly. "I called your doctor. I hope you don't mind, but I had to know the truth. He confirmed you're completely healthy. Your mother fabricated those documents." Relief flooded through me, but it was short-lived. Ryan's expression was still anguished. "But Ryan, if you know she's lying, then what?" "She won't stop." Ryan interrupted, his voice breaking. "Your mother won't stop Jessica. After I confronted her about the fake medical records, she showed up at my office. She talked to my colleagues, told them I was making a terrible mistake. She called my mother in Seattle, told her lies about you. She's turning my entire life upside down. And Amanda—" He paused, wiping his eyes. "Amanda cornered me in the parking garage yesterday. She told me that if I agreed to be with her instead, they would both leave me alone. She said this could all stop if I just made the right choice." "And what did you say?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Ryan looked at me, and in his eyes I saw exhaustion, defeat, and guilt. I told her no. I told her I love you and only you. But Jessica, I don't think I can do this anymore. It's not about my love for you. That hasn't changed. But I feel like I'm drowning. Every single day is a battle. Your mother has escalated to the point where she's affecting my job, my family, my mental health. I've started having panic attacks. I wake up in the middle of the night with my heart racing, terrified of what she'll do next. Tears were streaming down my face now. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm not strong enough for this. I'm saying your mother has won, not because her arguments convinced me, but because she's broken me down. I can't marry you, Jessica. Not because I don't want to, but because I can't survive this war your family is waging. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. He stood up, pulling something from his pocket. The engagement ring, the one he had given me last spring with so much hope and love. He placed it on the bench between us. I never stopped loving you, he said, his voice cracking. But I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry. He walked away, and I sat there watching him go, unable to move, unable to speak, unable to process what had just happened. The man I loved, the man who had promised to spend his life with me, had just left because my mother had made his life unbearable. She had won, not through reason or truth, but through relentless, systematic destruction. I don't know how long I sat on that bench. The sun moved across the sky. The temperature dropped. Other people came and went. I felt hollowed out, like someone had reached inside me and removed everything vital. Eventually, my phone rang. It was Amanda. I answered without thinking. Jessica, I heard about you and Ryan. I'm so sorry it didn't work out. Her voice was sticky sweet fake sympathy dripping from every word. But maybe it's for the best. Ryan deserves someone who can really take care of him, someone strong and capable. Someone like, well, never mind. Like you? I said, my voice flat. You want Ryan for yourself? Amanda laughed, a light tinkling sound that made my skin crawl. Well, if he's available now, I don't see why not. Mom always said I was the better match for him anyway. He's successful, ambitious, handsome, and I can give him everything you couldn't. A real partnership, a real home. The rage that suddenly filled me was white-hot and purifying. Stay away from him, Amanda. Or what? She said, her voice turning sharp. You can't tell me what to do. Ryan is a free man now, and honestly, Jessica, you should be thanking me and Mom. We saved him from a lifetime of disappointment with you. I hung up. 1 week later, I received a wedding invitation in the mail. Ryan and Amanda. Getting married. The date was the exact same day Ryan and I had planned. The location was the same beachside hotel I had reserved and put a deposit on. My mother and sister had taken everything, twisted it, and claimed it as their own. I called the hotel, my hands shaking as I dialed. The receptionist confirmed that yes, the reservation had been transferred to Amanda Patterson. My mother had called claiming to be me and said there had been a change of plans. The wedding was still happening, just with a different bride. I wanted to scream, to rage, to burn the whole world down. Instead, I sat in silence, the invitation in my lap, and realized that I had two choices. I could let this destroy me, or I could rebuild. That night, my best friend Emily came over. She found me sitting on the floor, surrounded by wedding magazines and broken dreams. She sat down next to me, put her arm around my shoulders, and said, "What do you need?" "I need to leave," I said. "I can't stay here. I can't watch them live the life that should have been mine. I need to start over somewhere far away from all of this." Emily nodded. "Then that's what you'll do. And you know what? You're going to come back someday and you're going to show them exactly what they lost." I didn't believe her then. I couldn't imagine ever feeling strong enough to face my mother and sister again. But I held on to her words like a lifeline. 2 weeks later, I accepted a job offer in New York City, 3,000 miles away from Portland. I didn't tell my mother. I didn't go to the wedding. I just packed my things, sold my furniture, and left. The first year in New York was the hardest period of my life. I rented a tiny studio apartment in Queens, barely big enough for a bed and a desk. The walls were thin. I could hear my neighbors arguing in the middle of the night. The subway was crowded and confusing. I knew no one except Emily, who called me every week to check on me, her voice a reminder that someone still cared. Every night I cried myself to sleep. I replayed the last conversation with Ryan over and over, wondering what I could have done differently. I thought about Amanda wearing my wedding dress, standing in my wedding venue, marrying the man who had once been mine. I thought about my mother triumphant in her cruelty, having successfully convinced Ryan that I was worthless. The pain was physical, a constant ache in my chest that never quite went away. But during the day, I worked. I threw myself into my job at a large accounting firm in Manhattan. I arrived early and stayed late. I took on projects no one else wanted. I studied for my CPA exam on weekends, sitting in coffee shops with textbooks and practice tests, determined to prove my worth through achievement since my family had declared me worthless. 8 months after arriving in New York, I passed the CPA exam on my first try. My supervisor was impressed. She gave me a raise and more responsibility. I started to rebuild. Not my heart that was still broken, but my life. I made new friends at work. People who knew nothing about my past, who saw me only as Jessica, the talented accountant, not Jessica, the rejected sister. I joined a gym and started working out, not to look a certain way, but to feel strong. I took cooking classes on Thursday evenings, learning to make elaborate dishes, proving to myself that my mother had been wrong about my abilities. 18 months after leaving Portland, I took a huge risk. I quit my job and started my own financial consulting firm. It was terrifying. I had some savings, but not much. I rented a small office space in a building in Lower Manhattan, just one room with a desk and a filing cabinet. I designed business cards and a website. I reached out to everyone I knew, asking for referrals. For the first 3 months, I had exactly 2 clients, and I wasn't sure I would survive. But then something shifted. One of my clients, a small tech startup, saw their profits increase by 15% after implementing my financial strategies. They told their friends. Those friends became my clients. Word spread. Within 6 months, I had 20 clients. Within a year, I needed to hire my first employee. Within 2 years, I had a team of 5 people and had moved to a larger office with windows overlooking the city. Success didn't heal my broken heart, but it gave me purpose. It showed me that my mother had been wrong. I wasn't weak or incapable. I was smart and determined and strong. Every new client, every successful project, every dollar earned was proof that I had value regardless of what my family had said. During my 4th year in New York, I attended a business conference at a hotel in Midtown. I was there to give a presentation on financial strategies for growing businesses. I wore a navy blue suit, my hair pulled back professionally, feeling confident in a way I hadn't felt in years. After my presentation, a man approached me. He was tall, with graying hair at his temples and sharp, intelligent eyes. He introduced himself as Daniel Morrison, CEO of Blackstone Investment Group. "That was an excellent presentation," he said, shaking my hand. "I especially appreciated your analysis of risk management in volatile markets. Would you have time to discuss a potential collaboration over coffee?" We went to the hotel cafe, ordered espressos, and talked for 3 hours. Daniel told me about his company, one of the largest investment firms on the East Coast, managing billions in assets. He had started from nothing, building his empire through careful planning and bold decisions. He had also experienced failure, losing almost everything during the financial crisis before rebuilding bigger than before. He spoke about business with passion, but also with humility, admitting his mistakes as readily as celebrating his successes. I found myself opening up to him in ways I hadn't with anyone in years. I told him about starting my consulting firm, about the fear and excitement of building something from scratch. I didn't mention my past, the betrayal that had driven me to New York, but Daniel seemed to sense there was more to my story. He didn't push, simply listened with genuine interest. As we were leaving, Daniel said, "I have a proposition for you, Jessica. Several of our portfolio companies need financial consulting. Would you be interested in working with us?" It was the kind of opportunity I had dreamed about. Working with Blackstone would give my firm credibility and exposure. I said yes immediately. Over the next 6 months, Daniel and I worked closely together. He would call me to discuss projects, we would meet for lunch to review progress, and gradually our conversations shifted from purely professional to personal. He asked about my life, my interests, my dreams. I asked about his. He had been divorced for 5 years, had no children, and had devoted most of his life to building his company. He was 50 years old, successful beyond measure, but I sensed a loneliness in him that matched my own. One evening, after a particularly long meeting, Daniel walked me to my office. It was late, the streets mostly empty, the city lights reflecting off the wet pavement from an earlier rain. We stood outside my building, neither of us quite ready to say goodbye. "Jessica," Daniel said, looking at me with an intensity that made my heart race. "I need to tell you something. These past months working with you have been the best part of my days. You're brilliant and talented, yes, but you're also kind and genuine. I find myself thinking about you constantly. I know I'm older than you and I'm probably risking our professional relationship by saying this, but I have feelings for you. Real feelings." I stood there shocked. I hadn't allowed myself to consider romance since Ryan. I had built walls around my heart so high that I thought nothing could get through. But Daniel had somehow found a way in, not by force, but by patience and respect and genuine care. "I don't know if I'm ready for this," I whispered. "There are things in my past things that hurt me badly. I don't know if I can trust someone again." Daniel nodded. "I understand, and I'm not asking for anything you're not ready to give, but I want you to know that I see you, Jessica. Not who your family said you were, not the broken parts you think define you. I see the strong, capable, amazing woman standing in front of me, and if you're willing to give me a chance, I promise to show you every day how much you deserve to be loved properly." I started crying, then not from sadness, but from relief. Relief that someone saw me as I truly was. Relief that maybe, just maybe, I could heal. "Okay," I said. "Let's try." Dating Daniel was different from anything I had experienced before. He was patient, never pushing me faster than I was ready to go. He took me to quiet restaurants where we could talk for hours. He surprised me with thoughtful gifts, not expensive jewelry, but books he thought I would enjoy, tickets to lectures on topics I found interesting. He met my friends and charmed them with his warmth and sincerity. Emily, visiting from Portland, pulled me aside after meeting him and said, "This one is good, Jessica. This one sees you." 13 months after that first coffee, Daniel proposed. We were in my office working late on a Saturday, surrounded by spreadsheets and financial reports. He suddenly stood up, walked around the desk, and knelt down in front of my chair. "Jessica, I don't have a speech prepared because I'm terrible at those, but I know one thing absolutely. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I want to build something beautiful together. Will you marry me?" The ring was a simple platinum band with a single emerald, my favorite stone. I said yes without hesitation. We got married 3 months later in Central Park, just 30 close friends present. No family, at least not mine. I hadn't spoken to my mother or Amanda in 5 years. As far as I was concerned, they no longer existed. Emily was my maid of honor, standing beside me as Daniel and I exchanged vows. It was simple and perfect, and everything my first wedding was supposed to be. By the time I had been in New York for 5 years, my consulting firm had grown beyond anything I had imagined. We now had 20 employees' offices in 3 cities and clients ranging from small startups to Fortune 500 companies. Forbes magazine featured me in their 30 under 30 list, calling me an innovative financial strategist who was revolutionizing how companies approached growth. I had money, success, respect, and a husband who loved me unconditionally. I had built a life so far beyond what I thought possible that sometimes I had to pinch myself to believe it was real. Daniel suggested we host a party to celebrate the firm's 5th anniversary. He wanted to invite all our clients, business partners, and friends to show them our gratitude and to showcase how far we had come. I agreed, and we began planning an event that would be memorable. We booked the ballroom at the Waldorf Astoria, one of New York's most prestigious hotels. We hired a symphony orchestra to provide live music. We arranged for a 5-course meal prepared by a Michelin star chef. We sent out 300 invitations to the most important people in our business and personal circles. The night of the party, I stood in front of the mirror in our hotel suite adjusting my dress. It was a navy blue evening gown, elegant and sophisticated, with a fitted bodice and a flowing skirt. Daniel came up behind me, fastening a diamond necklace around my neck, an anniversary gift he had given me that morning. "You look stunning," he said, kissing my shoulder. "Are you ready?" I took a deep breath. "I'm ready." The ballroom was spectacular. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting rainbow light across the room. Round tables covered in white linen surrounded a dance floor. Flower arrangements in shades of white and gold adorned every surface. As guests arrived, I stood with Daniel near the entrance, greeting everyone, thanking them for coming. Business associates congratulated us on our success. Friends hugged us and complimented the venue. The evening felt magical, like the culmination of years of hard work and perseverance. And then, about an hour into the party, I saw them. My mother and Amanda standing near the entrance, looking around with wide eyes. They were not on the guest list. I had not invited them. I had not spoken to them in 5 years. Yet somehow they had found out about the party and managed to get in. My body went cold. Daniel noticed immediately, following my gaze. "Who are they?" he asked quietly. "My mother and my sister," I said, my voice steady despite the sudden racing of my heart. "I didn't invite them." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Do you want me to have security escort them out?" I considered it. Part of me wanted them gone immediately, wanted to preserve this perfect evening without their toxic presence. But another part of me, the part that had grown strong over the past 5 years, wanted them to see, wanted them to understand exactly what they had tried to destroy and how spectacularly they had failed. "No," I said. "Let them stay." My mother and Amanda approached, slowly weaving through the crowd. My mother looked older than I remembered, her hair more gray than brown, her face lined with wrinkles that hadn't been there 5 years ago. She wore a simple black dress that looked cheap compared to the designer gowns many of the guests wore. Amanda was next to her, wearing a floral print dress that was pretty but dated. Her makeup was lighter than she used to wear, her hair shorter. She looked tired. They stopped a few feet away from us, uncertain. My mother spoke first, her voice lacking the cold authority I remembered. "Jessica, you look so different, so successful. I had no idea things had gone so well for you." I didn't respond immediately. I just looked at her, this woman who had given birth to me, but had never truly been a mother, who had actively worked to destroy my happiness because she preferred my sister. Amanda shifted uncomfortably, not meeting my eyes. "We need to talk," my mother continued. "We're family, Jessica. We should be part of your life." "Talk?" I repeated, my voice quiet but firm. "About what exactly?" Amanda finally looked up, and I saw tears in her eyes. "Jessica, I'm so sorry. I was wrong. Everything that happened with Ryan, it was wrong. We should never have. She trailed off, unable to finish. "You should never have what?" I pressed. "Should never have convinced my fiancé to leave me. Should never have married him in the wedding I had planned. Should never have tried to prove I was worthless." My mother interjected, her voice taking on a pleading tone I had never heard before. "We made mistakes, Jessica. We can admit that now. But we're struggling. Amanda and Ryan got divorced 2 years ago. He lost everything in a bad investment. Amanda had to get a job as a secretary just to pay rent. I'm living with her in a small apartment. We're barely making ends meet. We thought maybe you could help us since you've done so well." The audacity of it took my breath away. They hadn't come to apologize or to make amends. They had come because they needed money, because they had burned through whatever they had and thought they could come crawling back to the person they had treated as worthless. "You thought I would help you," I said loud enough that a few nearby guests turned to look. "After everything you did to me, after you told my fiancé I was weak and incapable, after you convinced him to marry my sister instead, after you took my wedding, my plans, my life, and twisted them into something for yourselves, you thought I would just forget all of that and write you a check." My mother's face flushed. Several more guests had stopped their conversations, sensing drama. "Jessica, please, we're family. You're doing so well. You have so much. Can't you spare something for your mother and sister?" Daniel stepped forward, then, his presence commanding. "I think you should leave," he said, his voice calm but with an edge of steel. "You're not welcome here." Amanda's eyes widened as she really looked at Daniel for the first time. Recognition dawned on her face. "Wait, you're Daniel Morrison, from Blackstone Investment Group. You're—" She looked at me, then back at Daniel, her face going pale. "You're married to him." Daniel put his arm around my waist, pulling me close. "Yes, I have the privilege of being Jessica's husband, and I can tell you, after hearing what you did to her, that you have no idea what you lost. Jessica is the strongest, most talented, most incredible woman I've ever met. She built a multi-million-dollar company from nothing. She's respected by everyone in our industry. She's kind, generous, brilliant. And you tried to convince her she was worthless." He looked at my mother, his expression hardening. "You should be ashamed. You had a daughter who could have made you proud, who could have been part of something beautiful. Instead, you destroyed her relationship, stole her happiness, and now you come here begging for money. You don't deserve her time, her energy, or her forgiveness." My mother and Amanda stood frozen, the weight of Daniel's words and the stares of dozens of wealthy, powerful people around them making them shrink. Amanda whispered, "Jessica, please. I know we don't deserve it, but Ryan and we were so unhappy. He never loved me. He cried on our wedding night, said your name in his sleep. The marriage was a disaster. We both realized too late what we had done. And Mom, she's sick. She has diabetes and can't afford her medication. We just need help." For a moment, I felt a flicker of something. Not quite sympathy, but a distant recognition that these were human beings who were suffering. But then I remembered. I remembered Ryan sitting on that park bench telling me he wasn't strong enough to fight for us. I remembered the wedding invitation in the mail. I remembered my mother's voice saying I wasn't good enough. I remembered 5 years of pain that I had to work through alone. "I can't help you," I said quietly. "Not because I don't have the resources, but because helping you would mean accepting what you did was okay. It wasn't. You made choices that hurt me deeply. You prioritized jealousy and control over love and family. Those choices have consequences. I'm sorry you're struggling, but that's not my responsibility." I turned away from them, Daniel's arms still around me. We walked back into the crowd, leaving my mother and Amanda standing alone near the entrance. After a moment, I saw them leave, shoulders slumped, defeated. I watched them go and felt nothing. No triumph, no satisfaction, no lingering pain. Just peace. They were part of a past I had left behind, and their reappearance didn't have the power to touch me anymore. Emily found me a few minutes later, having witnessed the whole exchange. She hugged me tightly. "Are you okay?" she asked. "I'm better than okay," I said honestly. "I'm free." The rest of the party was wonderful. Daniel and I danced, celebrated with friends and clients, gave speeches thanking everyone for their support. When Daniel introduced me to a group of investors, he said, "This is my wife, Jessica Morrison. She's the smartest person I know and the best decision I ever made." The investors nodded respectfully, several of them saying they had heard of my work and were impressed. Late in the evening, when most guests had left, Daniel and I stood on the balcony overlooking the Manhattan skyline. The city sparkled with a million lights, a testament to dreams built and pursued. Daniel held my hand, his thumb tracing circles on my palm. "Are you really okay after seeing them?" he asked softly. I thought about it honestly. 5 years ago, seeing my mother and Amanda would have destroyed me. It would have brought back all the pain, all the feelings of inadequacy, all the rage and hurt. But now, after building a life I was proud of, after finding love that valued me properly, after proving to myself that I was strong and capable, their opinions simply didn't matter anymore. "I'm really okay," I said. "They can't hurt me anymore. They tried to break me, and instead they forced me to become stronger. In a weird way, I should thank them. If they hadn't driven me away, I never would have come to New York. I never would have built my company. I never would have met you. Their cruelty led to my greatest happiness." Daniel kissed my forehead. "You would have succeeded anywhere, Jessica. That's who you are. But I'm grateful their loss became my gain." We stood there in comfortable silence, and I realized something profound. For years, I had carried my mother's words like weights. Weak, incapable, not good enough. I had believed on some deep level that maybe she was right. But building this life, achieving this success, finding this love, it had all proved her wrong in the most definitive way possible. I wasn't weak. I was resilient. I wasn't incapable. I was talented. I wasn't not good enough. I was more than enough. In the months following the party, I found myself thinking about forgiveness and healing in new ways. Initially, I had thought moving to New York and building success would be enough to overcome the pain my family had caused. And in many ways, it was. But seeing my mother and Amanda again, even briefly, had stirred up old questions. Not about my worth, I knew my value now, but about the nature of family and forgiveness and moving forward. I started seeing a therapist, something I probably should have done years earlier. Dr. Chin, a woman in her 50s with gentle eyes and a direct manner, helped me process what had happened. She helped me understand that my mother's behavior had never been about me. It had been about her own insecurities and issues projected onto her daughters. She helped me see that Amanda's jealousy had stemmed from our mother's toxic comparisons, from a family dynamic that pitted us against each other instead of supporting us both. Understanding didn't mean excusing. What my mother and Amanda did was still wrong, still cruel, still unforgivable in many ways. But understanding helped me let go of the last remnants of hurt. I didn't need to carry their baggage anymore. I could acknowledge what happened, recognize how it shaped me, and then set it down and walk away. Daniel was supportive through all of this. He never pressured me to reconcile with my family or to cut them off completely. He simply held space for whatever I needed to feel and process. On difficult days when memories surfaced unexpectedly, he would hold me and remind me that I was safe now. On good days, he celebrated with me, pointing out all the ways I had grown and thrived. My business continued to expand. We opened an office in Los Angeles, then another in Chicago. I hired more staff, mentored young accountants, spoke at conferences about financial strategy and entrepreneurship. Forbes featured me again this time on the cover of their magazine, calling me one of the most innovative business minds of my generation. The girl my mother had called weak and incapable was now leading a company that helped hundreds of other companies succeed. Emily visited, often flying in from Portland, where she still lived. She had gotten married herself to a kind man named Marcus, who worked as a teacher. She told me stories about her life, and I told her mine, and we marveled at how much had changed since those dark days when she had found me crying on my apartment floor, surrounded by broken wedding plans. "You know what I'm proudest of," Emily said one evening over dinner. "Not your success, though, that's amazing. I'm proudest that you didn't let them break you. You could have become bitter and hard. Instead, you became strong and kind. That takes real courage." I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "I couldn't have done it without you. When I left Portland, you were the only person who believed in me." "I always believed in you," she said. "I just helped you remember to believe in yourself." On my 30th birthday, Daniel threw me a surprise party. Not a big formal event like the anniversary celebration, but an intimate gathering of close friends in our apartment. There was champagne and cake and laughter, people who loved me celebrating the fact that I existed. As I looked around the room at these wonderful people who had become my chosen family, I felt overwhelming gratitude. Later that night, after everyone had left, Daniel and I sat on our couch, my feet in his lap. "I have one more gift for you," he said, pulling out an envelope. Inside was a deed to a house. A beautiful house in Connecticut with 5 bedrooms, a big backyard, and space for the family we had started talking about. "Daniel," I breathed, looking at the photos. "It's perfect." "I thought it was time we had a real home," he said. "A place that's completely ours with no memories of anything bad. Just a clean slate where we can build our future." I kissed him, tasting champagne and cake and happiness. "Have I told you lately that I love you?" "Not in the last hour," he teased. I was starting to worry. "I love you," I said seriously. "You saw me when I was broken, and you didn't try to fix me. You just loved me while I fixed myself. That's the greatest gift anyone has ever given me." "Jessica," Daniel said, his voice thick with emotion. "You weren't broken. You were wounded. There's a difference. Broken things can't be repaired. Wounded things heal and often become stronger at the break. That's what you did. You healed and became stronger than anyone who had never been hurt could be." His words settled into my heart, a truth I had been moving toward but hadn't quite articulated. I wasn't a victim of my past anymore. I was a survivor who had transmuted pain into strength, betrayal, into wisdom loss, into growth. Several months later, I found out I was pregnant. The news filled me with a complex mix of joy and fear. Joy because Daniel and I wanted children, because the idea of creating a family built on love and respect felt healing. Fear because I worried about being a mother when my own mother had been so toxic. What if I repeated her patterns? What if I somehow damaged my child the way she had damaged me? Dr. Chin helped me work through these fears. She reminded me that awareness is half the battle. I knew what not to do because I had experienced it. I could make different choices, create different patterns. I could be the mother I had needed, giving my child unconditional love and support. When our daughter was born, we named her Hope. It felt fitting. She represented hope for the future, hope for healing, hope for a family that functioned the way families should. Holding her tiny body, looking into her perfect face, I made a silent promise. I would never make her feel less than her siblings. I would never pit her against others or make her compete for my love. I would tell her every day that she was valuable simply because she existed, not because of what she achieved or how she compared to others. Daniel was an amazing father from the first moment. He changed diapers without complaint, walked the floors with Hope when she cried at 3 a.m, sang silly songs that made her giggle. Watching him with our daughter, I felt my heart heal in ways I didn't know were still wounded. This was what family should be. Love, freely given support, without conditions. Acceptance, without qualifications. I never heard from my mother or Amanda again after that night at the Waldorf. I didn't seek them out and they didn't contact me. Sometimes I wondered how they were doing, if my mother's health had improved, if Amanda had found happiness. But mostly, I didn't think about them at all. They had become characters in a story from my past, important because of how they shaped me, but no longer active players in my present life. If you've stayed with me through this whole story, thank you. I know it was long and at times painful, but I needed to share it because I think there are people out there who need to hear it. People who have been told by their families that they're not good enough. People who have been betrayed by the ones who should have protected them. People who are sitting in the rubble of their broken lives wondering if they can ever rebuild. I'm here to tell you that you can. Not immediately, not easily, but absolutely. The path forward isn't about revenge or proving your worth to the people who hurt you. It's about proving your worth to yourself. It's about building a life that makes you proud, surrounding yourself with people who value you properly, and learning to love yourself even when others don't. My mother was wrong about me. I wasn't weak. I was tender. I wasn't incapable. I was still learning. I wasn't not good enough. I was always enough, she just couldn't see it. And ultimately, her inability to see my value said everything about her and nothing about me. The same is true for anyone dealing with toxic family members or people who try to diminish you. Their opinions are reflections of their own issues, their own pain, their own limitations. You don't have to accept their verdict on your life. You get to decide your own worth. You get to write your own story. Forgiveness is complicated. I don't think I've fully forgiven my mother and Amanda, and I'm not sure I ever will. But I've let go of the need for them to acknowledge what they did or apologize for it. I've released the anger that was poisoning me from the inside. I've chosen peace over vindication, and that's its own form of freedom. The greatest lesson I learned through all of this is that sometimes losing people who don't appreciate you makes room for people who do. Ryan leaving wasn't actually a loss, though it felt like one at the time. It was the universe clearing space for Daniel for a love that valued me properly. My mother and sister pushing me away forced me to build a life bigger than anything I would have attempted if I had stayed in their toxic orbit. So, if you're in a dark place right now, if you're dealing with betrayal or rejection or being told you're not enough, please hear this. You are enough. You have always been enough. The people who can't see that are telling you about their own blindness, not about your worth. You have the power to build something beautiful from the ashes of what was destroyed. You have the strength to become the person you were always meant to be. Take it from someone who sat on a park bench with a broken engagement and a shattered heart, who cried herself to sleep for months, who wondered if the pain would ever end. It does end. And on the other side is a life more fulfilling than you can imagine right now. A life where you wake up next to someone who cherishes you, where you do work that matters, where you look in the mirror and genuinely like the person staring back. The journey isn't easy. There will be days when you want to give up, when the old voices in your head tell you that you're not strong enough or smart enough or good enough. But keep going anyway. Every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory. Every day you choose to believe in yourself, despite what others said, is an act of rebellion and courage. And one day, maybe years from now, you'll be standing in a beautiful place you built with your own hands, surrounded by people who love you, and you'll realize that the people who tried to break you actually freed you. They freed you from the prison of caring about their opinions. They freed you to become who you truly were meant to be. And that freedom, that authenticity, that hard-won self-love is worth more than any approval they could have given. So to everyone watching this who has experienced something similar, I want to ask you, have you ever had to walk away from toxic family members to save yourself? Have you rebuilt your life after betrayal? Share your story in the comments. I'd love to hear how you found your strength. And if you're still in the middle of your struggle, please know that you're not alone. There are people rooting for you, believing in you, waiting to see you emerge victorious. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel for more real stories about overcoming adversity and finding strength. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it. Sometimes knowing that others have survived similar pain is the lifeline that keeps us going. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. I hope wherever you are in your journey, you know that you matter. You are valuable. You are worthy of love and respect and all the good things life has to offer. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Not your family, not your friends, not anyone. You get to decide who you are. Make sure you decide you're amazing, because from where I'm standing, having walked this path, I know that anyone who survives what we've survived and comes out the other side with their heart still open and their spirit still intact is nothing short of extraordinary. Keep fighting for yourself. Keep building your life. Keep becoming the person you know you can be. The best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's living so well that their opinion becomes irrelevant. And one day you'll realize you've done exactly that. And that realization will set you free in ways you can't imagine right now. Trust me on this one. The view from the other side is worth every painful step it takes to get there. Thank you again for being part of this community. Until next time, remember that you are stronger than you know, braver than you believe, and absolutely deserving of every good thing coming your way.